Well, we have even more cards that have been revealed, but before we jump into talking about that, I just want to thank everyone who's been checking out the channel and supporting me. And if we can get to the 1,000 subscriber mark by the end of the 29th of March, the last day of reveals, I will also be doing a giveaway for a mega bundle. So thank you. Please, if you aren't already, subscribe so we can get to that point and give away a mega bundle. And send these videos to your friends or people you know. Have them check the videos out and subscribe as well so we can get there and give somebody a mega bundle. Thank you, thank you. Now let's jump into these cards. So the first one here looks like maybe something that they might have missed yesterday or something. I don't know. But we have this one here. It is Instrument Tech. It is a 2-mana 1/2 with a battle cry, draw a weapon. Pretty simple, straightforward. There's definitely some classes that might want this. Typically drawing something specific, a spell, a weapon, a minion, drawing something very specific like that has proven very powerful in Hearthstone. So going to be pretty interesting to see how this one gets used, but I think it seems pretty solid. Now, getting into the next category here, they're musicians. The first one we have here, Air Guitarist, a 1-mana 1/1, battlecry, give your weapon +1 durability. Seems pretty unassuming. The durability might be something that people want, but the weapon itself, I think, will have to be something that has a very good effect, or a when you attack type of effect. Or just a lot of attack for that durability to really help a lot. I don't know if people are actually going to want to play this in their deck as one of their cards to get +1 durability on a weapon, especially since there's no minion type on this minion as well. So for now, probably don't really see people playing it, except for maybe a very specific case. Then we have Audio Medic, a 2-mana 2/3 rush with Finale, gain lifesteal. This seems pretty nice. I think the rush mechanic, it's got a decent body here. That extra health will ideally help it stay alive, or it can just rush into something. But that Finale getting the keyword of lifesteal, pretty nice. Also, there seems to maybe be a theme or aiming to add some hand buff stuff so far that we've seen, even with neutrals. So if you are able to add buffs or something to this and then rush it out, especially getting that lifesteal, it's even better. So I definitely do think this one is something that might be played in standard. It seems better than some of the other neutrals we've seen. Next here we have Cowbell Soloist. So another soloist, it's going to have an effect if it's the only minion. It's a 3-mana 4/2, kind of an interesting stat line. And Battlecry, if you control no other minions, deal 2 damage. So dealing just 2 damage, you're going to be able to send that 2 damage wherever you want. But the thing that I don't really like about this is it's just dealing 2 damage one time to like a single target. Maybe that's okay, but also with the aggressive stat line here, a lot of attack, my inclination would be that you'd probably want to put this in a more aggressive deck. But dealing the 2 damage once, maybe that's okay. But also if you're running a more aggressive deck, it seems a little bit unlikely that you will have no other minions on board. Maybe there's some cases for it. If this were deal 2 damage to all other minions or deal 2 damage to enemy minions, that would be something that I think people would go for. This one, I'm not completely sold on yet. We've seen other effects that dealt 2 damage. Astalor is one of them. In mechanics like Murloc and Elementals, we've seen effects like that, where if you control a Murloc, you get to deal 2 damage, things like that. But I don't know about this one, especially, again, another neutral that doesn't have a minion type. We'll see. The next one here, Cover Artist. I love all these references. A 4-mana 3/3 battlecry, transform into a 3/3 copy of a minion. This seems to me like it will work with death rattles or something like that, maybe a rush or lifesteal or taunt if you really need that. You're really going to have actually have a purpose for it. You don't probably want to run this in a deck just to say, I think I'll get value at some point. You're going to have this in a deck that runs it for a very specific reason. And again, death rattle is kind of the first thing that comes to my mind here, copying a death rattle and then getting that effect a couple of times. But the 3/3, since it specifically says it's a 3/3, it's not just a copy. This is not just a faceless manipulator that you'll get to make a copy of some gigantic minion that has charge or rush or anything like that. So that's why I think death rattles and not something else. This feels pretty fringy and pretty unique case to me. Then we have Unpopular Has Been, a 6-mana 5/5 undead. Death rattle, summon a random 5-cost minion from the past. So from the past will be a card for a 5-cost minion that's only in wild, that's not available in standard. 6-mana 5/5. Yeah, this does not seem good enough for standard, honestly. Maybe a while ago, this value and having, kind of multiple minions would have been great. Maybe this is something you want to copy a death rattle of. Maybe you can take advantage of the fact that it's an undead and revive it, but right now I don't really see it. It feels a little bit too clunky and a little bit still kind of too random. Then next up we have the audience. So the first one, they had to bring Annoyatron back. So Annoying Fan, a 1-mana 1/2 mech. Battlecry, choose a minion. It can't attack while this is alive. Now, the it can't attack while this is alive seems to be a theme with all of these audience cards, so it's kind of interesting. And I'm curious to see if this is an effect that they like or that players like. I suspect this is something that may become its own keyword in the future. It's not a lot of wording to just say, it can't whatever while this is alive, but the while this is alive could become its own mechanic in the future. So kind of interesting. Choosing a minion, you could choose a very large minion. This Annoyo does not have taunt like many other ones. So you could put up a taunt or some other thing in front of this to try to protect your Annoying Fan, but it also has a pretty low health, so it feels like it's going to be pretty easy for people to answer it and then be able to attack with their minion. Could be annoying for people to deal with. Kind of interested, though. I'm not really sure how these mechanics are going to work because, again, looking at things that we've had in the past, that the effect is there, I would say typically aren't actually that annoying. It's usually kind of easy for people to answer it and then move on with what they were going to do. So all of these audience members, these audience cards, and this whole while this is a live mechanic, really kind of interested here to see how these actually perform. So let's look at the next one, Candle Raiser, a 4-mana 3/3 Divine Shield with Finale, give adjacent minions Divine Shield. This one, though, doesn't use that while this is a live mechanic. It uses the Finale keyword, and this one I actually think is pretty neat. I like this one a lot. This seems like a really great on-curve play for a more aggressive tempo-style deck. Be able to give other minions Divine Shield. This could be played a little bit later in the game to be able to play something and then finish up with this 4 mana and give some larger minions Divine Shield. But this one I kind of like. I think it's pretty cool. Here is our next fan that has that while this is a live mechanic here. So Obsessive Fan, a 4-mana 2/2. Battlecry, choose a minion. It has stealth while this is alive. The thing that I do really like about this one is it's just choose a minion. So you could choose your opponent's minion if you want to, or you could choose your own. But the kind of neat thing with this is that choosing your own minion, you could do something like that Annoying Fan to prevent an enemy minion from attacking and then give your own Annoying Fan stealth with this. Then it kind of becomes a layered mechanic where your opponent would have to kill Obsessive Fan and then kill the Annoying Fan to be able to attack with their minion. that seems like a lot of work just to prevent one of their minions from being able to attack. But there definitely kind of is that potential layering of effects like this. Not really sure if there is a time where you want to give your opponent's minion a stealth, except for maybe taunt. So you could play this potentially in a somewhat aggressive deck, and if your opponent's minion has taunt, you want to get through it, you just give it stealth, and then that taunt essentially is inactive, and you can attack their face. So there definitely are key moments where you could actually use it on an opponent minion, but this one, the stealth, definitely going to be interesting. I think this one will see more play than the Annoying Fan. Our next one here, Party Animal, 2 mana, 2/3 Beast, Battlecry, give +1/+1 to a minion of each type in your hand. Again, kind of leaning in a little bit to that hand buff style mechanics. We've already seen that with a little bit of the other neutrals. Not really sure if I like this one a lot. Maybe even just getting +2/+2 in certain decks could still be pretty good value. Like playing this on curve, giving a 3-cost mech +1/+1 for you to play next turn, and Amalgam is still a thing, so that could count as anything. Maybe people try to do some sort of menagerie style paladin with the Purator, but I'm not really sold on that actually being a valid deck or a very high tier style deck for standard. But this is definitely one that I think can have some value. I want to see what class cards we actually get with this set that might end up helping this get more value. Then we have Rowdy Fan, a 3 mana 1/5 Quillbore. Here we go. This is standard that I'm talking about, not Battleground, so it's really interesting to see these. But Quillbore, a battle cry, choose a minion. It has +4 attack while this is alive. So this, again, another one of those while this is alive effects. Choosing a minion could be your minion, could be an opponent minion. There are some mechanics potentially where you could give your opponent's minion that added attack and then be able to kill it potentially, some priest cards, let's say, or if they put Big Game Hunter into core, that could be something you could want to give your opponent's minion +4 attack and then BGH to kill it. Again, that seems like a lot of setup and a lot of cards that you don't really want to be putting in your deck just to kill one thing, but there is that potential. But this being only a 3 mana and then 5 health really helps this, and I think this is going to be played in aggressive decks. Being able to even coin this out, give your maybe your 1-drop minion 4 attack, and it's always going to have that. The only downside is if they kill your 1-cost minion, then that's pretty irrelevant. Maybe then you're running 2 of these, you can follow up on the next turn with playing the second Rowdy Fan and giving the first Rowdy Fan 4 attack. I don't know, I definitely think that this one, to me, this one seems like the best so far of the while this is active effects. And the next one we have Mishmash Mosher. That is going to be difficult to say. 8 mana, 3/10 undead with Rush. After this attacks, gain +1 attack and attack a random enemy minion. This one seems really cool. I definitely think this is going to be fantastic for potentially some undead warlock, or maybe even just a bit more of a control style deck to be able to clear off against multiple minions on the board. Being able to attack it, the first attack doesn't have to kill anything as well. So this could attack into the same minion. You could rush it in if there's only 1 minion on the board, rush it in, and then after it attacks, it will gain that and then be 4 attack and attack into a random enemy. So if there's only 1 enemy minion, then you can clear something that has 7 health. So honestly, this one seems pretty great. And then you gotta have some cute little Murloc in the set. Crowd Surfer, a 1 mana 1/1 Murloc with Death Rattle. Give any other minion +1/+1 and this Death Rattle. So we've seen a little bit of a mechanic like this before with the Silverhand Recruits in Paladin, of kind of keeping that repetitive Death Rattle going. It wasn't really very popular in Standard. This one, though, might see play in some sort of aggressive deck because it has the Murloc tag, I think. If it didn't have the Murloc tag, I definitely don't think it would see any play. But with maybe things like that party animal and some aggressive decks trying to get added value, this might actually fit into some aggressive decks. And our last set of neutrals here, the news, gotta have these. We have a tradable card. Tradable, not leaving. All of the tradables that came out will be rotating out of Standard, but they're adding this one in. Makes me really curious to see how many more tradables they actually put in, because I think a lot of people really like the tradable mechanic. So we have Concert, Promo Drake, an 8 mana, 8/8 dragon with that tradable, and the new keyword Finale, destroy an enemy minion. So an on-curve Promo Drake killing an enemy minion seems pretty fantastic. It is that dragon, so maybe you want to play this in like that Purator, Menagerie Paladin. That could be a good fit for it, honestly. And maybe in some other style decks where you really just want to drop this on curve. I know all of the quest lines are leaving, but I think like Quest Priest probably could have loved a card like this. So there definitely could be decks that actually use this in Standard. Next up, we have Paparazzi. Nobody likes Paparazzi, and I don't know how many people are going to like this card. It's a 3 mana, 3/4 Battlecry, discover a legendary minion. Okay, I don't know. I personally don't think this is all that great. Discovering a legendary minion, maybe the discover mechanic is going to give you class options. Maybe it's going to be, you're going to have one, maybe 2 class cards and then 1 and or 2 neutral legendaries. But often the legendaries aren't super helpful, and it still kind of is a little bit random. Honestly, if you really want that, just put the legendary in the deck instead of these. I'm not seeing a place for these in Standard right now. And of course, you gotta reference a lot of these bands and songs, and I'm sure we'll see even more references. But here, Rolling Stone, it's a 2 mana, 2/2 elemental with Rush, and Battlecry, if the last card you played costs 1, gain +1/+1. Really interesting. We've seen a lot of mechanics of if you played an elemental last turn, if you played a spell last turn, if you played a spell while this was in your hand for Nagas. But I think this is kind of the first time that we've seen if the last thing you played was a certain cost, then you get an effect. So really interesting here. And again, a kind of cheap elemental. Maybe this fits in some sort of menagerie or like that party animal style deck. It's pretty decent for an aggressive deck as well. And I don't know, this could actually see some play. That rush mechanic being able to impact the board immediately as well, pretty fantastic. Here we have Freebird. Now this one, charge minion, a charge minion. We're getting one. 4 mana, 2/2 beast with charge, and Battlecry, gain +1/+1 for each other Freebird you've played this game. So if you can make copies of this, play repetitive Freebirds, they're going to have charge, but the more you play, the larger the body size will be. That's a really, really interesting mechanic. They can be silenced, but because of the charge effect, you'll still be able to actually attack with it before any silencing effects. So really, really interesting mechanics here. I like that it costs 4 and that it kind of starts at that 2/2. I think that's a really good starting stat line. But we'll see if this actually ends up being something that people can kind of take advantage of and play a ton of these repeatedly and actually be able to win games with it, how consistent it is. So I don't know if this one is going to be a popular choice for Standard, but I think it's really fun and a cool card. And lastly, we have Photographer Fizzle, a 3 mana 3/3 Battlecry, take a snapshot of your current hand and shuffle it into your deck. This is a fantastic combo and control tool. Maybe you can use it in an aggressive style deck. It's got a low curve, but definitely combo style decks and more control style decks that are going to want additional removal tools, additional healing, additional armor, or their combo pieces, just in case there is some sort of removal effect. So I really do think that this one may actually see some play in decks. I don't think it's going to be like used in every single deck, but I do think that there will be a few decks in Standard that will end up utilizing this. Oh, what do you think of these cards? And now that we have neutrals, which class are you excited to see? Thank you for checking this out. And if you missed at the very beginning, I did mention that if we hit 1,000 subscribers before the end of March 29th, when all of the card reveals end, I'll be doing a giveaway for a mega bundle. So make sure that you subscribe if you aren't already, and go ahead and check out the other card review that I did for the rest of the neutrals here. Thanks for checking this out, and I'll see you in the next one.